Hello, my name's Reagan Adams, and I'm just getting set up right here to talk to you this morning. I was asked to talk to you. I'm a veterinarian, have been one for almost 40 years, and I was asked to talk to you about the profession of veterinary medicine and how it relates to the pillars of One Health. You've learned this week about how One Health is the intersection of the health of people, places, and animals. I'm a veterinarian by profession, which means that's the body of education that I got after I went to college in veterinary school. General things about all the health and diseases of all animals. However, I've had many different jobs in which I have used that information, and I don't want you to mix up your profession with your job. The jobs are how you use it. The profession is the body of education that you have on that topic. So I've been a private practitioner, which is like a primary care doctor to horses. I've been an equine surgeon specializing in diseases and problems in neonatal foals, a researcher studying health and disease in cattle, and now I've been an extension agent for the last 10 years. And in my job as an extension agent, I'm the state veterinary extension specialist. I work with communities across Colorado on community issues related to animals. And I'll get into more detail on that because you may not quite understand that right now. So first, a little bit about me. I grew up in rural Maryland. Our toys were animals and nature. We were kicked out of the house at 8 o'clock every morning to go play and not to be late for dinner. As you can see from these pictures on the left, I either dressed up as an animal, I rode an animal, I played with an animal out in the woods usually. That colored picture of me and my brother indicates how we both sort of fell into this One Health thing before One Health was big. My brother, the one with the mustache there, has been a guide in Wilderness, Alaska, up in the Arctic wildlife region for 35 years. His specialty is taking people out in the wild, the very wild, and showing them the way animals live in that wild country. He's quite a birder. He takes you to see caribou, bears, moose. It's absolutely phenomenal, the instinct he has for being out in the wild. I'm not quite as good about that sort of thing as he is, but I sure give it a try. My specialty was I was called to work on health and welfare of animals. As I said before, I've been an equine veterinarian and a livestock veterinarian all of my life and loved every minute of it. I'm following the questions that were asked of me to discuss in this presentation. And one of the first was, how did you get your present role? Well, let's talk about my profession of veterinary medicine. When I went to high school, I didn't think about being a veterinarian. When I went to college, I hadn't thought about being a veterinarian. And primarily that was because the veterinary profession was primarily men. In fact, when I applied, the profession was only 16% women and 84% men, both genders mostly white. I dropped out of school, and I say dropped out because that's what we used to call it in those days. I went to 2 years of college and just didn't feel like I knew why I was there. And so I got a job with my local horse veterinarian. I didn't really think it was a profession that I was cut out for, but while I was working for him, he encouraged me to apply. And without his mentorship, I would never have thought that possible because, as I say, it was a profession that was dominated by men. And the idea was that women were not strong enough to deal with animals. Ironically, whether you're 100 pounds or 200 pounds, if you're approaching a horse or a cow as if you're going to out wrestle it, and that animal is 1,000 pounds to 1,500 pounds, you aren't going to win no matter how big you are as a person. So you have to do things differently. So it was sort of a false paradigm. My freshman class, and this is a picture of my freshman class, was considered very diverse because there were 25 women and 55 men. So the ratio in the profession was 16% women to 84% men, but the proportion in our class was 31% women and 68% men. Of those 80 people, there was one Black man, one Cuban man, and one Cuban woman. So diversity was not big in those days. I say that, and I talk about this for you all because I want you to understand that the diversity that you see in professions when you're in high school will change drastically, probably during the course of your profession. So don't be worried about that the diversity doesn't look like you, because it may look like you as your profession goes on. I was asked, what about your job fills your bucket? Well, as I said before, veterinary medicine is a 4-year course that you take after your undergrad education, and you're taught a huge body of knowledge. So you have a general knowledge about a lot of things, about a lot of animals. My present role is just one type of job a veterinary can fill. And as I say, I've been a general practitioner, a surgeon, a researcher, and now I'm an extension agent. What I love about the extension job is, as I say, I'm helping communities with general issues around veterinary medicine. So this picture I have here emphasizes that as a veterinarian, I could do horses, I could do cattle, and now I spend a lot of time on emergency management or what to do with animals during disasters. These community animal issues mean that I don't focus on the health of an individual animal, but how the community deals with the general health of all the animals in the community. We spent a lot of time in the last 10 years making plans so that communities were able to make sure that animals in their community stayed safe during disasters like the fires that we saw last summer. I also work with the state veterinarian on how to prevent large animal infectious disease outbreaks, and if they do occur, how we regulate and respond to them. And then another interesting thing is I work with urban cities that want to have livestock in their city. So you now have seen this rage of this interest people have in having backyard chickens, backyard goats. And so the municipalities, meaning the cities and towns that allow this, need to consider what the ramifications or the unintended consequences of having these livestock in highly populated areas. So we work together to develop regulations that fit those cities and towns. Oops, sorry, jumped ahead. Another question was, what are other careers that you think might make you happy? I think the 3 things I love most about working is service. How can I help somebody? Researching, how can I learn about how something works? And being a community organizer. And by that, I mean bringing a community together that has a problem. In my situation, I'm called in when it's a problem associated with animals, and try to figure out what resources they have and how they want to solve that problem. I oftentimes bring scientific information from the university to add to their discussion, but that scientific information isn't often absolutely applicable to the problems that they see in the big wide world. But I like to see those communities come to their own answer and solve their own problem with the resources that they have. I love this mixture of working on the land with people and animals. It's the ultimate One Health experience. Has the role required any personal sacrifices or modifications to your personal life? I think it depends on what you think about the word sacrifice. I see life as a massive mound of opportunities. My curiosity is what drives me. And you can't, because you can't do everything, you need to make choices about which things you do. So if you do one thing, you may not get to do another thing. Some people may call that a sacrifice. I call that a choice, which I have decided upon. So I don't feel like it's a sacrifice. It's all the way you frame your life. How do you manage stressors? Well, a little bit of stress isn't so bad. Your heart beats a little harder. You might get a little sweaty. You might think a little faster. And that's a good thing. But chronic stress is a killer. So my two guidelines is I ask myself, why am I doing what I'm doing? Is it really necessary? Is it helping me? Is it helping me do a better job to serve other people? An important thing to ask yourself. And then, as I say, does it serve me? Does it serve, or do you serve it? Are you a slave to what you do, or is what you do bring out the best in you? And that often guides my decision about what I do in my life. And finally, the question is, what do you wish you'd done differently? What advice would you have given yourself in high school? The first one is to believe in yourself. I wasted way too much time wondering if I was good enough, wondering if I was smart enough, wondering if I belonged. And those are not good guidelines. You just have to believe in yourself and follow your North Star. Second is not to fear failure. Every time you fail or you goof up, you really can learn from it. And it is the best teacher because you'll never do that again and you'll be a lot wiser. On that note, I'd like to tell you that I'm exceedingly excited about talking to you. I think we're meeting together on June 9th. And I hope that this little discussion has stimulated some questions and that you will ask me so that we can talk about each of these topics in more depth. Look forward to seeing you. Bye-bye.